It's getting real. Am I right? Now, here's the time we get going, I'm sure. 81 is the episode number, if you can believe it. This is LAFC Plus. Hello again, Mario Ruiz. I'm Dave Denholm. How are you, buddy?
It is. It's getting so real. We're down to the last 8 teams in the MLS Cup playoffs here, and I feel like we haven't played in like months. It's been so long since we played. We still got a whole nother week to go, but you know, I got my playoff beard growing here. It's actually more like scruff. More like scruff because I can't really connect it, and it's kind of embarrassing. But I'm actually jealous of yours because I know you always can grow one like in 12 hours if you like.
It's so funny you mentioned that. I've had the all right, here's the bottom line. My wife prefers it, so I've had it for, I don't know, decades already now, right? I never thought I would actually have a beard and a mustache, but I want to shave it off. But my daughter, she's about to become 7, she's turning 7. She was just like, lost it when I said I was going to shave and I wasn't going to. I was just kind of testing the waters with my wife, just not messing around, not trying to fool them, but just be like, what do you think if I, go no beard, no mustache anymore, go back to like, holy cow, early 2000s probably was the last time, and my daughter freaked out, like, no, kids are like that. Like if they've only seen you that way, she's never seen me without it, so she just was like, no, you can't do that. She turned to my wife and like, no, don't let them do that. It's like, I'm not going to. I was just kind of floating the trial balloon out there. But so, it's interesting. But, look, I don't have the greatest. It's all gray now. So
what about exactly, like playoff ritual stuff, though? Like, do you have any, or when you played in high school, did you have any like rituals or like superstitions? Because I know like when I played in high school, when I played baseball, not so much in soccer or basketball, but in baseball, I wear like gold chains. And every time I stepped up to the plate, the umpire would be like, son, you got to tuck in those chains. And I would act all surprised, and I'd tuck them in like, oh, okay, I didn't know you weren't supposed to wear them. But I had like a chain with like a cross on it, and then I had a chain with like my number on it. I used to just think I was like Luis Polonia or Ricky Henderson or something.
Well, let us know in the comments, too, or wherever you're listening to these podcasts. We appreciate that. If you're able to comment, you can go to the YouTube page of LAFC to every week watch LAFC Plus. Leave us a comment, hit the like button, all that stuff. Subscribe to the YouTube channel or anywhere else you watch this. Make sure you're getting this podcast each and every week. Of course, episode 81 here. But it's funny you say that because I didn't really have I don't really have there are more rituals, if anything. They're not like superstitions. Me, I'm a poker player, right? I go play tournaments at Commerce or wherever, or at the Bike or whatever, whenever, go to, Vegas if I can or whatever, play local tournaments. I'm not really I don't believe in luck even when it comes to that stuff. It's all math. But I'm not, I get it. I understand why people do it. It's almost more ritual sometimes for me.
Like
I do certain
Ryan Hollins said, but he does have the playoff stash. So that's another just situation, a little instance there where some people do certain things in the playoffs, not necessarily like superstitious or ritual type of thing.
Exactly. They're rituals, which is cool. I have, some of those things I have to do each game, before a game, kickoff, whatever. But I don't think they affect the outcome in a sense that if that's the case, all of our superstitions, they always are wrong. Not always, but you don't win every game. You know what I mean? Like if everybody had like, oh, I've got this superstition and I play shortstop and I hit 240. Well, it didn't work. Like what is it? No offense. And I'm not saying
what's one of those rituals that you do, Dave? What's one of those rituals you do before a broadcast or something, before every game? Just give us like one.
Yeah, there's like a little, I'll have my little, I don't think I have any on my desk right now. I have these little, lozenges type things. I have to have one at a certain time before the game, to make sure it's a little before pre-game, stuff like that. Just a little thing. I know that's like preparation stuff, but it is almost part a ritual. Because if I don't have it, I freak out, like mentally. Like,
you got to keep it routine.
But, like, it bothers me. Yeah, like you just got to have it got to have a bottle of water there at a certain spot on my, right by where I do my game from our booth. And, got to have my notes in a certain place. And again, not because I think it's going to affect the outcome of the game. I'm not talking like that. We get like that I got like that more as an NFL fan. Like, don't, when I'm embarrassed to admit this, my, rest in peace, my dear mother who, is no longer with us. But we at times as Browns fans, as a family growing up in Cleveland, Ohio, we wouldn't let my mother in the room because we thought she was like, because she was like, every one game where she walked in the room at the wrong, because she wasn't a sports, but heaven forbid she walked in the room at the wrong time and we gave up a touchdown. So then we were like, get out of here. It's like she didn't do anything, but it was like, no, don't come back in this game. Like, so stuff like that. Like,
something similar with my son's soccer game. They're playing horrible in the first half, and I was standing on one side of the field.
I love it.
As soon as we went to halftime, I went and stood in a whole different side of the field, hilarious. And it actually changed the game. So I'd like to take a little bit of credit for that win, because it did change the game when I stood on the other side of the field.
And I know people believe in a lot of, I get it, like they do, but it just got news for you. You would bet 1,000 if all your superstitions came true, and I'm sure Dodger fans are feeling pretty good. They probably feel like they have, certain things they must do now, and it always works because it seems to for the Dodgers. So, but it's just more like little rituals and fun stuff. Nothing for me, nothing too crazy. But it's been a beautiful break, Mario. I know you're taking full advantage of your break here, so that's good for you.
Oh yeah. But, I'm going to Baja California. I got to get this escape. I got to get my tan on. I know it's going to be raining here, so I'm going to go change the forecast. I'm going to be going to sit in the sun and poolside. So I'll see you guys in a couple of days after this podcast.
Well, there are some people who are players who are out and about traveling, but it's not what you think. It is the international break. It's why we don't have a game. In fact, this weekend coming up, as you maybe you get this show, it is still the international break. Several players from virtually every team in MLS, I believe, has someone representing, but several for LAFC, of course, and several really for Vancouver, who are also preparing to play us. We'll get into that. Denis Bouanga, the usual suspects, Matthew Choinière, Son Heung-min, of course, David Martinez, Andrew Morin, Nathan Ordaz, Timothy Tillman, among the players for LAFC who are out and about playing for their national teams. Timothy Tillman, a late call up there for the U.S. after an injury for a couple of other players. Congratulations to Timmy. Hope he takes full advantage. I know he will. And good to see him back in the U.S. camp. Vancouver, just so you know, Ali Ahmed, Sebastian Berhalter with the U.S., Kenji Cabrera with Peru, Andres Cubas, got that call in for Paraguay, and Jaden Nelson with Canada. Ali Ahmed, of course, Canadian as well. I didn't mention that. So both teams have kind of where it's trickier because you got guys staying, obviously they're going to be practicing and everything without these guys, which they're used to, Mario. But does that affect anything, do you think, going into – because you still have the full week until LAFC play. They're the first game in that round, too.
I think it's interesting the fact that Timmy Tillman and Sebastian Berhalter are going to the U.S. men's national team, and they're going to be teammates there, and they're going to be friends there for about a week. And the next week, they're going to win or go home, live or die type of one-game knockout game. So that's an interesting situation there. I'm not sure how it affects either or, like who benefit from that. I do love the fact that Timmy did all up. I know later, putting him smoothly past accuracy. We see that cool. Do wish that him was on the team for it would be cool for those to get that team together and have moments together. I think of a lot of interesting matchups too.
Well, we do have also Matthew Choinière with Canada, as I mentioned, Ali Ahmed and Jade Nelson, same type of situation. So, but so that'll be interesting.
Playing against Venezuela, against David Martinez, the youngster, La Joya de Venezuela, the jewel from Venezuela. So that's another interesting matchup there where you got guys from the same team, both from LAFC, and now they're going to go on international duty and face each other, which is kind of cool, which I love the whole idea of club and country. I know a lot of sports, they don't like that. I think a lot of like leagues like the NBA or baseball is pretty good at it. MLB's pretty good at it, but like the NBA, sometimes they don't like when a player like Luka Doncic goes back to his country and represents them in Eurobasket and is missing, maybe like the NBA preseason or something like that.
Yeah.
But for, I think a lot of those NBA players that are international stars, especially in the NBA, they do get it. Like they want as bad or even more as being there for their NBA team, right? And this is something that happens in soccer, in the world of football, where it's club and country, and you want to win as many trophies as possible for both.
Yeah, no doubt about that. But it is interesting. I agree. I think these teams are really ready for this. You face it every year, essentially, this time of year in the playoffs. Any teams that are kind of used to the playoffs have to get used to this kind of thing, because also those teams often have a lot of guys who are internationals too and are playing for their countries because they're good players.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's going to be a huge factor. LAFC are preparing for that Western Conference semi. It is coming up. We do know now it's on the, of course we knew it was on the road in Vancouver. We didn't know when our last show, but it is Saturday, November 22nd, 6:30 p.m. Pacific, a little bit after 6:30 for the kickoff. So we'll have our pregame, by the way, at 6 o'clock Pacific coming up for that match. So we know that's all set. It's the first game of that second round. These are now knockout stages where it's like when you get to the knockout round of the World Cup, right? The groups are over, the regular season, like that's done, metaphorically. Now we're into that's why I said it's getting real, right? We're into the knockout stages. One bad game, say goodnight, you are done. But I gotta go back a little bit here, Mario. I wasn't really making any huge news with my predictions in the first round, I don't think, because I took a lot of chalk and
those were good. Not everybody was calling that. You did.
Yeah. Well, I picked the favorites throughout most, but I picked both 5 seeds. One of them did go through, of course, NYCFC. I thought Seattle had it. I'm watching that third game. They're up 2-0 on Minnesota before I blinked, for crying out loud. Yeah. I mean, they're dominating. Then they get up a man, still winning 2-1. They're up a man for a lot of that rest of that game. And all of a sudden, you look up late in the second half, they're down 3-2. Seattle needed a kind of a scrapping goal late in the game just to get to penalties, which they ended up losing anyway. And it brought to mind some of the questions people had about that first round, right? Best of 3. But if you're tied, each game goes right to PKs. So what people were saying was, well, how unfair is that? Seattle won game 2, right? They won that outright. Minnesota got through on 2 penalty shootouts. So if you were gonna actually look at it like, let's say, the League's Cup format, right? 2 points for the shootout win, 1 point for a loss in a shootout, 3 points for a regular victory. Minnesota had 4 points, and Seattle had 5, technically, right? If you look at it the way, I don't care. And nobody really beefed about it too much because Seattle blew game 3. You don't deserve to whine about it when you play that horrifically and you gag and you choke like that. I was so surprised. I had Seattle beating Minnesota in that series, but I was really, now taking nothing away from Minnesota, Mario. We'll talk more about them. I was shocked at how bad Seattle was in that game. Like, you're up 2-0. Okay, you give up 1 goal, but then you get up a man in a playoff game that you have to win to go through. You're up 2-1 and a man, and you are down 3-2 late net. What in the world?
That is shocking.
I mean,
so shocking more than anything, especially for a Seattle team that's been battle tested and has a manager that they have and have been through some of the high priority tournaments and won them. They've won every single trophy there is to win. So this is kind of odd to see from a Seattle team, but Minnesota pulled it out at the very, very end with the PKs. But I think both teams know the scenarios as far as the difference between Leagues Cup and between the playoffs. As you can go to the penalty kicks and still come out winning that series, but Leagues Cup would be a different story, like you're talking about.
Well, finish a team off, man. Let's not rely on PKs if you can help it. That's the lesson, of this stuff. Is just, you got to find a way to win in regulation. And we mentioned that game coming up Saturday against Vancouver next, Saturday the 22nd, depending on when you end up watching or listening to this podcast. Whitecaps are as good as any team in MLS, in my opinion, Mario. They really, they have won me over in that sense. They have a real shot at winning the Cup. There's no doubt about that. This is a very difficult game to go to Vancouver on that turf. That turf doesn't play terribly. I mean, it's okay as turfs go in MLS. There's a few too many of them, of course, because one is too many. But as in terms of gameplay, I don't think it's terrible up there. But Thomas Müller, a player we were shocked that found his way to Vancouver, right? That Vancouver would convince him. man, Mario, he fit right into this team that was already rolling. Yeah. They didn't miss a beat, man. This guy is, I mean, we know how good he is, but he is elevating this team even further.
And this is a team that has been good all season long and has only just gotten better as the year keeps going on. And I remember at the beginning of the year when they were dominating MLS, first place in MLS, they were dominating the CONCACAF Champions Cup, made it all the way to the final. And I was thinking, maybe they're playing a little bit, over themselves. They're playing a little bit better than what they really, really are. They're going to taper off later on. But then all of a sudden, like you say, they get Thomas Müller, and that just took them up to a whole nother level. Müller, 9 goals and 4 assists in just 10 games. That's a lot of goal contributions right there. A lot of them PKs, though. A lot of them PKs for our guy Sonny.
That's Son Heung-min kind of production, though. Let's face it.
Yeah, but Son Heung-min has goals within the run of play within the game, not as many PKs. Okay, count. So let's just get that. They still count. Yeah,
don't fall into that.
Yeah, they still count for sure.
If you're a good enough offense to be drawing PKs, then you're a good enough offense to score. I never get into that too much. People would say that about Carlos Vela a few years ago.
Yeah.
And my whole beef was, Carlos Vela was the one drawing the penalty. So how do you think he got to the PK spot so often? Because they were fouling him most of the time. Same thing with Denis. They're going to get their fair share, and so is Thomas Müller, because that team can attack and he can attack. So, and Vancouver also a very tough defense. Now, they've had some serious injuries along the way this year, missing Ryan Gauld for an injury for most of the year. And Brian White missed a lot of time, Veselinovic, even Tristan Blackman. Blackman will be back. Here's the one thing that people beef about the playoff format, right? Well, you're stuck with this international window. You have the best of 3 early, so you might actually finish in 2 and you get another week off. So people are always like, oh, it's too long of a... Well, let's put it this way. Teams are going to be healthy. As much as you can be this time of year, this big break allows teams to get healthy. Now, again, this is kind of maybe hurting LAFC in a sense because Vancouver's getting healthy and we don't want that, but they are going to be, and LAFC is going to be, every team's going to be healthy for the most part. And that's what I like about,
But this is such a huge match. Like, this is a blockbuster match.
Oh, yeah.
That I wish it was a home and away type of scenario here on this one, because especially with what is on the line, just one game and then you're off into the Western Conference Finals. And then we've been waiting for, it's going to be 3 weeks by the time the game finally gets here, waiting all that time. And then all of a sudden it's done in just 90 minutes. It's just hard to process that. I think maybe a home and away would be fair. And I think that's something that I would like to see in the MLS Cup playoffs, is have every round be home and away, every single round.
I disagree, and I'll tell you why.
Okay.
I don't disagree in the sense that, like, you're not wrong. I mean, even in my opinion, that's all this is my opinion. Like, that's totally valid. I understand where you're coming from, but it does make the regular season more valuable because Vancouver beat us, one time and threw the other one, and that's the difference. They're 3 points ahead of us. You flip that around, LAFC's the 2 seed versus the 3, and we're hosting. So I think it makes the regular season more valuable, and other people disagree, and then they also complain about the regular season not being that valuable. But yet every playoffs, man, it's hard to beat that home team. It's going to be a tough task for LAFC, and because we have to go there. And
once you already add a playoff, once you already add the playoffs to the regular season, then we're already here with this scenario as far as what does the playoffs matter, what does the regular season matter. So I think you can have like a home and away in the playoffs, and then make the final just have it just be one game, and the winner of the home field advantage gets to host the MLS Cup final.
I don't think that's good either, though, because. So you gave teams the opportunity to have the home and away all the way, and then the finals like one. I don't like that either. I hate that in Champions Cup. Why? Like, why? Why are you doing that? Everything is at home and away until the final, and then it's one game. And then
I do understand the 2 out of 3 series in the first round, because you want to get the most games out of everybody and give everybody a chance to host and all
Apple
that. So
TV wants revenue. Apple TV needs games, just like the NFL, and the NBA now has 20 teams making some type of postseason. 20 out of 30.
And they go 7 games or 5 games, however long the series is.
Stop complaining about the MLS playoffs being too many teams too. People out there. 20 teams in the NBA are somehow, I know it's the 7-9 or 7-10, 8-9, but that's still 20 out of the 30 teams make the NBA, whatever playoffs, if you want to call them that. That's absurd. So it's they need the games. They need their inventory for television. That's the bottom line, and that's no different in MLS, with the Apple TV deal or whoever would be the even if it wasn't Apple, they need as many games as they can. You're right about that. But back to this series, though, look, the regular season matters. Vancouver has the home field advantage because they did beat us once. We got a 2-2 draw with them in another game, which is a very good game. I think these teams are certainly very evenly matched. To me, they're two of the best teams in MLS, two best teams in the West. No disrespect to the other two we're going to talk about because I've come around on something there too. But this is a very interesting matchup because Vancouver, the thing I noticed, Mario, remember we used to talk about, and I'll say it, we used to talk about Vanni Sartini and how we thought he took him as far as he could. That's the bottom line as a manager. Now, again, maybe they needed a new voice or whatever, but man, they are just so much more, to me, Vancouver, without changing much of the roster, obviously Thomas Müller, but as Mario told you, they were playing great before him. To me, it's all been confidence this year. They are a different team because they feel very comfortable. I don't know if it's because of the manager making certain moves or what. They have been confident no matter what 11 is out on the pitch, no matter who they're playing, no matter when they're playing, who's missing, who's in. It doesn't matter. This team believes, I think, way more. I think before, when we played Vancouver, frankly, they were, if not scared of us, that's a bad word to use, but they were they thought they were going to lose to us. I mean, and occasionally they'd pull off a little upset against it, but let's be honest, we dominated them for the most part under Vanni Sartini. LAFC had their number. They'll punch you in the nose now with Jesper Sorensen. They're not afraid of anybody. They think they're going to win.
Yeah, they got a lot of good players, a complete team right there, a complete squad. They got players like Berhalter in the midfield, who's having a tremendous year. Tristan Blackman, defender of the year. He's holding down that back line. Takaoka is yes, sir, part of our history. Takaoka is a player that I talk a lot about on this LAFC Plus
Great
podcast.
Player.
He was an all-star, great goalkeeper. Ryan Gold is back. Brian White, scoring goals. They just done it all this year, broke all kinds of records, every record there is to break in their club history. They've broken those, and it's just been one of those seasons. But, they have to take care of business in the playoffs or else it's going to come to a screeching halt in just 90 minutes if they can't beat LAFC. LAFC has knocked them out of the playoffs the last two seasons. So this is a big, big match for Vancouver. I think there's a lot of pressure on Vancouver, and I think the pressure is more on Vancouver than on LAFC, being that they are at home, being that they know that they just blasted through this year and had a great year, and they know that they have to take down LAFC, and they know how dangerous LAFC are. They know what's coming at them with Sonny and Denis, and they know that Denis kills them. Denis Bouanga kills them. He has so many goals against them in the playoffs too. Like, he does it in the playoffs, not just in the regular season. So they're going to have to not only stop Sonny, but they have to worry about Denis Bouanga. He has 4 goals against them in the playoffs, which eliminated them, like I said, the last 2 times. And he's just a killer for them.
I agree. We're going to take a much deeper dive, of course, in that matchup coming up next week too. Of course, before, in this podcast, normally comes out on Thursdays. Obviously, we'll have time to do that next week and really dig into the matchups and the individuals. Yeah. I'm going to watch a lot more of Vancouver's, final stretch games, more of the playoff games. I watched the playoffs, but I'm going to, take another second look or third look at it and just try to dig a little deeper here. Plus, they do have players coming back. We'll see how they kind of get back into, that's not easy either. We've seen that too. And when a guy comes off an injury, it's not always just get right back to where you were when you were injured, certainly.
And Dave, we're more than a week away too. And from what I've read, the last time I checked, they've already sold over 50,000 tickets for this match at BC Place. And yes, it's going to be a lot of Vancouver fans, of course. But let's not get it twisted. There's going to be a lot of LAFC supporters there as well, and a lot of Son Heung-min supporters that's filling up that stadium as well, because there's a huge Korean population in Vancouver that loves their guy Son Heung-min. So it's going to be electric at BC Place.
And it's been that way everywhere we go. So
everywhere,
there's no doubt about that. Yeah. So you're absolutely right. That's a great point. Cannot wait to see those fans, of course, in Vancouver cheering on the black and gold. Let's go around the rest of MLS in these conference semis, around the rest of the MLS playoffs as we're getting closer and closer now. Kind of the field is dwindling. The real teams are here again. And I don't think there's been any, I know NYCFC upset Charlotte, but I don't think any of these teams don't deserve to be here. They're the better teams. They're the best teams in the league. And I think that is a good representation. Let's just talk about these matchups a little bit. FC Cincinnati against Inter Miami. And again, none of these games are being played until next week. In fact, LAFC is the first one. A couple of games on Saturday after on Sunday, and then one on Monday. But it's FC Cincinnati versus Inter Miami, Mario. That is, wow.
Big one. Yeah.
Yeah.
You get to watch the greatest of all time, Messi, do his thing in a high-stakes knockout game. I mean, this is one of the last, few matches that we'll see Messi actually in a do or die type of match. He is going to be here for more seasons, but still, we got to take these in to see him in this type of form. You got to know what you are watching here in real time. And he's probably going to win the MLS MVP again for the second straight season, but he's going up against another MVP caliber type of player, Evander, who's been killing it with goals and an assists all year long. Some of the most beautiful goals, some of the most beautiful assists all year long for FC Cincinnati. He's been leading that team. So we're going to see if Evander shows up for this round, though, because against Columbus in that first round, he was a little quiet. He was a little quiet, to be honest. So let's see what happens in this round against Inter Miami.
I think that was a little tense. I think Columbus did a good job. They were trying to stop him, of course. And I think it opened up a few things for others. Brenner, of course, winning getting the goals in that. And FC Cincinnati have a lot of weapons. I think Evander belongs on Brazil. I think Brazil, the national team, can use a player like him. He's exactly what they need. I don't care what anyone tells me. So he can change something. It'll be at Cincinnati, too. He can change a game. Much like, of course, the great Lionel Messi. Could be the last game ever of Sergio Busquets and Jordi Alba, too. Remember, they're retiring at the end of the season whenever it comes. So that's hanging in the air. We don't know when
that's huge motivation for them will be. I think that's a lot of motivation for that core in Inter Miami. Yeah, those guys, that Barcelona type of core, they want to raise one more trophy. And this is the MLS Cup trophy that they have not raised yet. So I think that's really, really pushing them. That's motivating them. So we'll see what happens in that one.
Well, there's a guy at MLSsoccer.com who's part of the media, covers MLS, Matt Doyle. You've heard me talk about him a little bit. He pointed out not necessarily before everybody, but he's kind of opened my eyes even to take a closer look. Inter Miami is much better defensively than they have been too. For a while there, with good reason, everybody thought, well, Inter Miami has to outscore you 4-3. That's how they're going to win if they're going to beat a really good team. But they've actually tightened up that D. I mean, they dominated Nashville in that game 3. It wasn't even Nashville, maybe not the greatest example offensively sometimes. I know they have couple of good players, but sometimes they can be really shut down. But Miami took care of business that way. I think their defense has been a lot better.
Yeah.
Certainly most of this year than compared to even last year or any, and there's no doubt of that in my mind. This team is definitely more than capable, but so is Cincinnati. I mean, all these teams are capable of winning the Cup now. I mean,
man, if Inter Miami keep that defense up, I mean, that is making them very, very deadly, because that was one of the ideas that I had all year, last year as well, is that if you want to beat Miami, you're gonna be able to score on them, but they're gonna be able to score on you too. So it's gonna be a shootout if you want to beat Inter Miami. But now, but also that they're tightening up on defense. If they do that, that's gonna be pretty deadly.
Good luck beating them 1-0. I mean, how are you going to pull that off? I mean, LAFC did it.
That's tough.
In the CONCACAF Champions Cup, we did, but it's one of the toughest 1-0s you're ever going to pull off in MLS. Certainly, and let's be realistic here. Anybody who's, if you're not watching Lionel Messi, shame on you, because obviously, as Mario even said, games are running out on his career. No matter how long he stays, he's obviously towards the end of his career. The math is catching up to him, but first and foremost, shame on you for not watching. But secondly, he is engaged. Like, this guy wants it.
Yeah.
There is no doubt in anybody's mind that he is putting in maximum effort and playing at a very high. I mean, he's still the best to me, and I don't care. Look, you can have your Lamine Yamal. I know he's young, and obviously he's the future, no doubt. Lionel Messi's the best soccer player in the world. It's just until he decides to stop, because he's motivated. Like, if he wants to play, he's the best, and he clearly wants it. And that's
if you're a sports fan of just any sports fan, and you have a chance to watch Messi in this type of game, you better soak that in. You better stop what you're doing and watch this, because Messi against FC Cincinnati, do or die type of game. He's going to be, like you said, really motivated, dialed in, locked in for this type of match. This is what you want to see. Just tune into this match. You'll see a top-notch Messi here.
Because I'm not trying to be bitter about it, but like, if you claim, even if you don't watch MLS normally, right? And let's say, whatever, you're a Premier League fan. I don't care, whatever, La Liga, Real Madrid, you're not a Premier League fan. You're a fan of probably Manchester City or Arsenal or Chelsea or Man United, right? You're not a fan of Brentford. Don't lie. But even if you are, even if you don't watch MLS or don't even, I don't even care if you hate MLS. You should be watching these games with Messi in the playoffs. These games are huge, and he's so motivated. Like, it is incredible. So if you claim to be any kind of soccer fan, right, whether it's, well, I'm an Arsenal fan or whatever, that's all. No, I don't buy it if you're not watching these games. I'm sorry. You're lying.
You could lose this match, too. It's that good of a match.
I mean, it's like, of course you would be watching Lionel Messi if you were allegedly a soccer. I mean, I watch Cristiano Ronaldo. I watch Messi. I watch Ronaldo whenever you got to. They're that good. That's the bottom line. And that's going to be a tough task for Cincinnati. Philadelphia, the 1 seed, of course, winning the Supporters' Shield, takes on the only upset of the first round, technically, even though I think NYCFC is every bit as good as Charlotte, and they proved it. Mario, I got to tell you, Philadelphia will probably win it. They're great. But, boy, Alonso Martinez, that Costa Rican international, man, up front for NYCFC. I would kill for the United States national team to have that kind of striker right now. That's what we're missing. Now, I'm not saying we're, like, loaded everywhere else, and that's all we're missing. Alonso Martinez, this guy is something special in front of net, man. He is just so good, and he is the X factor. He can be the difference, even in pulling another upset potentially in this match.
Oh, yeah. He looks like he'll just run through a wall for you, too. He has all the talent and all the passion and all the grit and just like everything you want in a goal scorer, striker like that. And that's what he did. He led his team, and now they're over here facing the number 1 squad, Philadelphia Union. It's going to be tough to beat Philadelphia at Philadelphia. But, yeah, another juicy matchup in the Eastern Conference. So let's see what happens to this one.
What the scouting of NYCFC. I know they're one of their main, people in the front office going to Sporting Kansas City, or actually has gone to Sporting Kansas City now. But boy, what the guy, Tati Castellanos, right? They get him for a song, from South America, wasn't that well known. They turn him into just a top-notch player. He goes off into Europe. Now he's with Lazio, scoring goals, doing well. Like, now it's Alonso Martinez coming from Costa Rica. So good, so sharp in front of goal. Just a smooth finishing against Charlotte. Never panics. He just always is ready to just put the ball in the back of the net no matter what the scenario. And that's just, it's pure class. Again, Philadelphia might be just too tough of a test to overcome because they're just so loaded. But I still think there's a possible upset there too. We'll talk more about that next week too. And then the game, Mario. I don't know if you're on board with me yet, but I've changed my mind about San Diego. They are legit, Mario. This team, you got to give them some kind of, they just blew the doors off of Portland and the Timbers in that third game. Like, this team is legitimate, man. They just keep proving
really themselves time and time again all year long in their inaugural season. It's already been a successful season for San Diego in their very first year. But the way they ran over Portland was just pretty impressive. I'm not going to lie. It was pretty impressive. The atmosphere they have there at the stadium. Chuki's not even starting. He comes off of the bench. He's their DP. Chuki's coming in off of the bench and still changing the game as well, impacting the game as well. So they have a lot of options. They have a lot of talent, and really there's a lot of players that are contributing that really aren't really like the highest paid players in MLS. They're getting contributions from a lot of guys that you wouldn't even think of, that weren't even on a lot of people's radar. Even somebody like Alejandro Godoy, like these guys, Anibal Godoy, he's not making that much money. The Bombino, these guys are not, some of the highest paid players in the league, but still these guys are key players on the first place team in the Western Conference that have been playing well all year long.
Absolutely. Now, that said, Minnesota United has a formula that they love, and if they can play that way, if they can pull it off, which I don't know that they can against San Diego, they can win, because even if they have to go to PKs, we've seen that with Dane St. Clair. I mean, tremendous goalkeeper. And Minnesota United will not quit. Like we outlined in this previous series, Game 3, they're down 2 goals early to Seattle. They're down 2-1 and then lose a man to a red card. And they still come back, and we're leading in that game late. Seattle thought they had pulled something off by getting a late goal and going to PKs. And then, of course, Minnesota wins in the penalties and moves on anyway. But the Loons are not to be messed with either. So
that was a huge win. To come back from that, being down 2-0, being down a man, and then you're going to go to San Diego and just lay down? I don't think so. They're going to fight. They're going to stand up, and they're going to fight to the very, very end. So that's going to be a tough one for San Diego. But I'm rooting for one more playoff game at BMO Stadium. That's what I'm rooting for. So let's have LAFC take care of business in Vancouver, and let's have Minnesota upset San Diego, and let's have that Western Conference final at BMO Stadium. That sounds really good to me.
Oh, yeah. Anybody who's in these semifinals is looking at that 1 seed, hoping they get knocked off for obvious reasons, because that just sets you up that if you win your series, unless you're NYCFC or Minnesota, they can't host. But obviously, these 2-3 matchups, FC Cincinnati, Inter Miami, and then, of course, us in Vancouver, we're all begging that number 1 seed to take a dive and go down and take hit a pothole or whatever. But so you got to take care of your own business. We know that. That's the hardest part, certainly. But
first and foremost,
Mario, we're allowed to look ahead. The team isn't, but we can kind of keep one eye on that. And, there's still an opportunity for LAFC to host MLS Cup, too, although that's, that gets a little tighter. That's NYCFC right there. Like, we're really hoping for some major upsets along the way, no doubt. But, hey, stranger things have happened, and we've seen that, of course, throughout the playoffs. It's going to be a lot of fun, of course. Reminder, LAFC is going to play at Vancouver, Western Conference semis, but it's not coming up until next Saturday, November 22nd. And that game is a 6:30 p.m. Pacific kickoff. We, of course, will have it over at 710 ESPN in the app. And Mario, great show as always, man. I cannot wait. We'll get deeper into these games even coming up next week as well. Have more fun stuff for you. Episode 81 of the books. Take us out of here. Great stuff. Always love talking LAFC.
It is the match that everyone is going to have their eyes on. LAFC Vancouver semifinal, Western Conference semifinal round there. Win or go home for both of those teams. And both of those teams are real MLS Cup contenders. So I can't wait. Like you said, November 22nd, almost go time, baby. Let's go. That's my main man, Dave Denholm. I'm Mario Ruiz. We'll catch you on the next one. This has been LAFC Plus.